this week's video, I decided to try something a bit different. I'm not writing a ransom note, but I am going to play with text. One of the elements I often would share when I first started working with collage was that something that was textural should come into play. And I kind of abandoned that. I normally do not work with text. I thought about that and mentioned it in previous videos, and I thought that maybe it would be fun to try and play with some text where I just used text entirely for my collage, nothing else. That, I believe, is something I'm not ready for. But what I think I am ready for is to use elements of text that play up with the focal point, that complement the focal point, and go from there. Then I can maybe expand, see if I like it. I'm not sure, but I love text. I've actually loved text since I studied graphic design in college. It generates all sorts of ideas for me. I look at the older text elements, like I'm going to use these pieces of text for this collage, at least I believe that's where I'm headed. And I look at it and, oh my gosh, is it sans serif or serif? And what I mean by that, if it's a serif, there's usually some type of little design. I don't know what they're called. I did take typography in college and I didn't do well. I can't remember what the vocabulary was, but I know that there are these little elements of style that go along with serif text. And my typography class, that was something that totally challenged me. It challenged me because it made me think about, am I going to choke or am I going to panic when it comes to turning in a project? And one project that I remember doing was we had to have about 20 pieces of text for a homework assignment and bring it in, and they all had to be more than 3 inches long. They had to be quite big, and the only thing I could find was going to a local Trader Joe's here in Southern California. So this is almost about that size. And I went to the Trader Joe's and I found these boxes that were for different liquors, and I took that to class the next week because I wanted to do well. And I just remember the instructor being like, wow, we have a lot of people who enjoy drinking here. I'm like, no, we're just trying to do my homework assignment. This text I'm cutting right now, I don't believe qualifies as a serif, probably more of a sans serif. But that's not what I'm trying to accomplish here. I just want to play with text today. I also want to play with a limited palette. I want to make the main colors red, black, and blue. Those are very popular design colors right now. And I wanted to work with this. I thought this was quite lovely. Having the kind of a inverted image, inverted text, because we usually see text black on white, black text, white paper, but this is the opposite. And then what I did also was I took some packing tape, and you may be able to see the shininess going on here. I'm going to do a technique that some of you are probably very familiar with. Take some water, and I'm going to drop my text in here. It is on the packing tape. I do want to use this text. I'm very excited about it. I'm going to let it soak there for a minute. I also did the same with this, but I don't know if we have enough room. I'll just go ahead and put that in here too. This is how I do it. You may be familiar doing it with other ways of removing the text background. It's the analog way of doing things. Obviously, you can do this in Photoshop, and I am doing it here very, very analog. So I let it soak for a couple of minutes, and when we come back, I'll show you what I do to make that text look transparent. We are working with vintage material. So this came from an old magazine, probably well over 50 years old. And what I'm going to do here is I'm simply going to rub away at this background. So you see we have the background here, and I'm just using my thumb initially, maybe keep dabbing it. And I just kind of use it as an eraser, which probably isn't the best thing in the world, but that's where I'm at. And what I'm trying to do here is simply remove that background, that white background. We want to keep the black, the word test. Okay, here it goes. It looks like it's coming apart. We want that. Like the layer of the white paper is pulling up. Almost to the point where we no longer see the add information. I'm just rubbing it. It was soaking for a couple, not even a few minutes. I just kind of dabbed it in. And as I go, if I need to, I will add more water to the back. And the front part is protected by my packing tape, my trusty packing tape. And you got some pilling going on. That's okay. You don't have to worry about that. What I don't want to do, what I sometimes run into trouble when I use this technique in collage, is I take off too much, and sometimes that black material, the black ink, will be removed as well, and I don't want to do that because I want to use that word test. So let's see, I'm just rubbing it off, making a little bit of a mess. That's okay. You're going to make a mess. Just keep moving it off your tape. Especially the areas where you know there was white. I really want to make sure we have no paper at all there. And sometimes just a little bit more off the back of the black font. This is definitely a serif font. It has the, sorry, I can't remember the term. If I do, I will let you guys know. Like the T has that design looking style, make it stand out. Okay. Don't want to do too much rubbing. That's pretty good. That's kind of a nice transparency. You got a little bit more there. And I can always add a touch more water to help it along. This is the analog way of doing things, guys. If you like Photoshop, you might be able to do this a lot faster. You can also use an eraser. I have done that, especially in the areas where I know there was a lot of white background around the T, the E, the S, and the other T. It does make a bit of a mess, so you want to be aware of that. And it's easy enough to clean up. I'm going to go to Timelapse and see what happens with the word secret. Test came out pretty well. There is still some debris on the back, but for the most part, it looks pretty clean. Hang on to that. Good to see right there. Secrets was a little different. I actually had to pull up some of the tape to start with the peel, and there's still quite a bit of background on here. But it is kind of, I guess it's a little transparent. We'll see what happens. As I go along, I know I often switch gears and I start doing things that I wasn't normally going to do. So I want to make sure we have a nice clean surface. And I want to keep it kind of simple. I want text to be a big part of this piece. So she's my focal point, but the text will also speak to the focal point as well. So I'm going to take off her eyebrows and we're going to do our usual face stencil template that I normally like to work with. And again, working with that red, white, and black. I have some lovely backgrounds going on here with some, either this one or this one, I think might make for some interesting backdrops. Again, staying with that muted palette with the punch of red, which may seem weird that I chose secrets because there's a lot of color going on here. Again, however, it's muted. So we're just going to remove these eyebrows. And as you know about eyebrows, they are very important to our personality, but they may not be considered a focal point too much. And of course, the eyes are very, very important. So is the nose. And I like to just cut out just a section of the nose, usually the bottom portion, but we'll worry about these eyes for the moment and put them off to the side when we're ready. When I started doing collages like this, I often utilized the shadowy areas that existed in the original image. That's because it just felt more three-dimensional when I did that. So I'm going to try to do that again. It's been a minute. I'm reflecting back on a collage I did back in 2021 called Use of Tongue. And the reason I think about this collage is, number one, it is actually one of my very, very favorite collages. Number two, it was the first collage video that I posted that rapidly got views. It got over 100 views in one day. And for me at that time, that was amazing. I was like, how did that happen? I used a similar type of text for the body that I'm using here today. It's not the same thing, but it has that old quality to it, that kind of Gutenberg old printer look to it, and that's why I'm going with this today. Also, this paper, the tensile strength of this paper is great, and it also does have a wonderful texture to it. This paper is also good. I've used it for watercolor, and I've used it for colored pencil. It's just an old book I got from the library. Got it for just cents, really. And the paper was great. I keep using it. I've had it for years now. So here we'll go back to our focal point. And remember, it doesn't have to be up and down in the right way. We can put it sideways, which will possibly give this a very, very interesting look to it. Yeah, I kind of like the way that looks also. We may want to give some space, some white space. That can also add some interesting quality to the composition if we do that. So I'm looking at this, yeah. It doesn't have to be like this is what I'm saying. It doesn't have to be like we see it in the book. You can play with it. In fact, I would encourage you to play with it as much as you can. I'm going to go ahead and remove this bit. Just a little bit of cleanup here. And a very sharp X-Acto blade. I'm going to have to get some more. I'm actually running low on them. So I like this. I think this will work very well. I'm just wondering if I want to maybe... See, that's kind of interesting too. These are the things you want to think of. This is why you want to play as much as you can. And I love this technique because it allows that. Now remember, I am thinking about using the word test in here. And I was going to put that where the eyes are. But the background being this text. So I did like it this way. I think I'm going to go with that. And I'm just going to go ahead and make a cut. Probably use packing tape and maybe something like this. That way we have a little space going on, and it just reads, and it can be very, it just looks interesting. It looks interesting to me, so I think I'm gonna go for it. And I'm just gonna use packing tape. I prefer packing tape because the adhesive is not as messy as our Mod Podge can be, but I do like Mod Podge, and I will be using it later on in this video and others. So I'm just going to go ahead and glue it down. Nothing terribly special, and I'm not going to use a lot of the adhesive, the packing tape adhesive, because I don't know how much I'm going to have to cut through. Let's go ahead and trim off to the side with you. Let's see. I'm just going to clean this up just for the sake of making it look pretty while we're working. Okay. I'm just going to go ahead and get her body in order. Because I have this at an angle, here's the neck. And the reason I put it at the angle is now with the neck, if I keep the neck straight, it will be a juxtaposition. It shows that things are at a different tilt, a different angle, and that can be very interesting as well. I see the word birds. It's in the middle of this page. And there's nothing in the text document that makes me want to focus on it. You could even go this way with it. That might be even more interesting. And there's my word birds. So I'm just going to actually put it up and down. It's not necessary that people can read what's being said. It's written in kind of an old English fashion, and it's difficult to understand. So I'm just going to go ahead and put it here. I think that'll be interesting. And trim it up. We don't need a lot of it. I connect it to where the face was. And I'll just trim here. There. Move on to the arms. Let's see. So maybe the arm could even be something like this. That might be very interesting for contrast. And we still have our text theme going. It might keep things a little more uniformed and clean if we do it this way. I think I want to use less text on this larger area because we can use more text here, and that will offer like relief for the viewer as they're looking at the piece. So I'm going to do this. Let's see. We can do this. I just want this little bit to show up right here, and maybe, yeah, here we are. Something like this I think will look, I think it'll look interesting. I'm just going to go for it. Not a big deal. It's, you know, this is just paper again, and it's just text. Good old text. Okay. Yeah, that's what I want to do. Okay. I'm going to cut it right here. All right. Now I have this at an angle, this going up and down. There's a lot of white space here. Maybe for this smaller portion, I'll keep it at, you know, like a regular, or maybe put it upside down and give her a bit of a shoulder to show, or not. Maybe this. That might look good. Let's just go with that. I'll go with that. Easy enough to control. Famous last words. Because I still have a lot more cutting I'm going to have to do with this piece. Okay, so this looks nice. I like the way this looks. Probably not going to need any more of this text for this piece. I want to keep her hair. I am, however, going to change what she's wearing. and I will show you that in time-lapse. Keep saying how I want to use the security envelopes in some more of my collages. And the reason being is it just offers a very nice contrast. At least I believe it does. I'm also cheating a little bit here because the original image, the original photograph, had red, and I stayed with red. And there's nothing wrong with that. You can absolutely do that. But I also sometimes feel like I'm cheating when I do that because I feel like, well, they went with red. Maybe I needed to go with something different. It's fine. Nobody's keeping track. At least I don't think they are. If they are, awesome, because it means they're watching. And go ahead and watch us. We don't mind that. So I'm going to go ahead and glue this on as well. And just see what it looks like. Again, I am playing today. I usually try to play every day when it comes to collage to see what looks good and to try things that are a little different. There are a lot of options in collage. I'm not sure if people realize that. We can create the options with the materials that are available to us. So I'm using this word. I want to use this word. It was originally, the word was hero, but if you cut hero down, you have her. I thought that might be interesting also for our experiment. Okay, and I was using this black text to kind of shade in where she's at. I guess I could keep the red also, mix it up a little bit. And I'm not sure if this black text is working well because, well, her hair is awesome. I could use for her hair, for her hair, I should use this black text. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to remove the black text from here. And I have it adhered pretty, okay. It's the nice thing about packing tape also is this. You can remove things a little easier with the packing tape than if you had glued it down. I do want to keep this red, but I just removed the red. I'll have to put it back somehow. And it looks like it's going to get thrashed a little bit from the packing tape. So yeah, I'm just going to remove that, put it off to the side. And I had some packing tape up here. I think I had it here. Ooh. So I may have to ad-lib it a bit. I'm not sure where everything went. Okay, this is probably thrashed because I have too much going on here. Let's remove this because this whole area was part of the shawl that was covering her head. So what would I like to use here? Probably this red, the hero red. I don't know how much I have left though, if I'm going to be able to use that all. I have some, but I'm going to be running out pretty soon. Now remember, we want to use for her hair this black text. So what I can do is I can just, incorporate the black text here and cut it out here. So I'm going to just go ahead and do that. Let's go ahead and make those cuts. All right, off camera I did a little work, did a little cleaning up and a little thinking. So I think I want to kind of wrap this up because, well, it's getting late and I might be getting a little tired. And also, I'm not going to say I'm getting frustrated, but this is because I am not used to working with text. I'm really not used to utilizing it as part of my schemes with collage. and I should. I think this has challenged me, and that is a very good thing. I have this transparency of the word test. I just wished it said the word text, but it doesn't, so it says text, and maybe I'll look for the word text in the next collage, textural collage video. So we got this here, and it's nice because there's still enough of the paper, the original paper on the back, that will give this a little tooth, so it should stick. The Mod Podge should stick. The adhesive is gone from the tape, and I just trimmed it a little bit, and it's still actually a little damp even. Okay, well, we'll just go with it. I like the way that looks. Here is her mask. And what's going to be interesting also is that we have now a very plasticky surface for our ephemera, for our features. So I'm just going to lightly score it where the eye is going to go to give it some tooth. Hopefully it stays long enough at least for me to work with Photoshop, scan it and get it into Photoshop for the final image. I'm just going to use the end of my paintbrush and just put enough adhesive down so we can secure our eye, our original eye. I have enough space for the eyebrow. I should be able to have enough of just the paper and not worry about the plastic, and it should be able to adhere. Here's my eyebrow, kept off camera, safely away from debris and stuff that's going to get trashed. I'm just going to go ahead and put that on here. A little messy. Don't like being messy, even if it's just the stencil that's not going to make it into the final image. Yeah, this is just a little messier than I thought. I'm going to go ahead and pull it up. We're not done. Just want to show you what it looks like. That has a nice look to it. I like the way the eye is going across the E, that middle arm part. Again, I don't remember my terminology from typography. I should. It's good to know these things, and it makes me sound like I know what I'm talking about. Let's get this nose on. I got a little lazy with this one, like I shared a little while ago. I thought about, the red and using red, even though red was already in the original image. I just went with it. I like red. Who doesn't like red? But I wanted to stay with red, black, and white because they're such wonderful ways of creating design, and it goes without saying also with collage, not just design itself. Doing the same thing with the scoring on here, dabbing my glue, grabbing my other eye, and adhering it at least long enough so we can get like a really nice scan. And sometimes that's all I do. It's just how I operate. Yeah, I think we're going to have enough here. We should be okay with the other eyebrow. And we can commence. We'll see. Let me go ahead and bring things up. I just hold down the features as I'm pulling up the stencil, keep them in place, keep them in the space they were meant to be in. This one's a little difficult. This is the mouth. It's giving me a bit of a problem, but we should be okay. Okay. Looks different. I think we're going to figure out her background later, and I think we're only going to focus on this part of the model. I'm not going to worry about the rest. I could change my mind tomorrow morning. Here's the word her. Could do that. Maybe. It's just a little too much. I'm going to abandon the secret transparency. So it'd be something like this. I may just want to do something like this. Yeah, maybe. Like I said, I may look at things differently in the morning. I believe I'm going to press this down under a book. Maybe the book we used when we got our other stuff. And let's see how we feel about it tomorrow. The big reveal this morning is I am good with this. I think I want to continue, finish it up. It's a little loose here, so I think I need to apply some more tape to secure it better. But I think I'm going to continue on with this collage. This is usually what happens with me. I decide that I want to sleep on something because I don't like the way it's looking. So that being the case, as in this case, I did sleep on it, and here we are the next morning, and I am fine with it. So I'm going to continue on. I was thinking about just leaving the dress as it was, not giving her a new dress, but I think I will. I'll just add some more red here and there. I am probably going to abandon this. It didn't really come out, but I really like the way Test came out across the eyes. It's quite telling of what we are working on here. So I like this red. I want to use more of this red. I was also using a bit of this image from, it was actually a beach towel, picture of a beach towel with a vintage Vogue design on it. I used it up here. Although I kind of wish I stayed with the darker red. I don't have a lot of the darker red here, just with the word, well, now the word her. So let's see what we can come up with. I could stay with, I mean, if I want to finish it now, which I'm kind of leaning towards also, and do something like that maybe. And then, I don't know. Okay, let me get back to time lapse and I'll do my thinking there. Talk through this. So I did some changes. I'm actually finishing up here. I'm going to keep a lot of elements of the original design here. It's fine. But look what happened. I did some cutting and some pieces that I had already placed right here, including the arm, have been removed. So I want to put this back, but it's just something you need to be cognizant of when you are doing this kind of technique. It's not to dissuade you from doing this technique, but it is something that can come up, and you just have to be ready for it because it will happen eventually. Just, it's not a big deal because everything is hinged on here kind of in a delicate manner, because I don't always anticipate that I am putting the tape in a place that's not going to get cut away. So I'm going to fix this arm again and just paste here because I had what seemed to be a pretty exact cut, I think anyway, for that red piece, which was going to go right here. I don't know where. Oh, I think this was it. No, that's not it. And it's not a big deal. I can totally I can fix it, but I'm just wondering where that red piece went. Unless this was it. Oh, this was it. It was this. Oh, okay, and it's a perfect cut. It came out perfectly, so I can reattach it here. So, and also I need it because it is defining where the shoulder area is, and that's important. So, probably a case of I need my Mod Podge here because I need to attach the ephemera to the picture plane a little bit better. So I love using the adhesive, the packing tape as the adhesive. The reason being it doesn't bubble, it's not wet, And there's nothing wrong with a wet adhesive if, you know, that's what you want to do for collage. I've just been using this packing tape for a while now, and I really love it. I'm gonna actually, this piece here, I'm gonna glue down as well. But there's gonna come a time where you will need to use your Mod Podge glue, and for this piece, with certainty, I had to use it, as you saw earlier, for adhering the eyes and nose and mouth back to the surface. So I think she is nearly done. I didn't deviate much from, well, I deviated actually quite a bit. I shouldn't be so hard on myself. I didn't deviate very much from the clothing because I wanted to stay with red. I was inspired by that red. I wanted to stay with the red. This area feels a little funny to me. I don't want to say it's bad. I'm not in love with it. It's also not the focal point. I could come back in with black perhaps. Does that look better? It might. That might look better. I'm just going to play with it for a second. Do this upside down. Remember, turn things upside down, right side up at an angle, and you'd be surprised that maybe that helps your composition. Whenever I get stuck with pieces, that is what I do. I think what I'm going to do is this. I might add the black because that just gives it a greater framing on the face. I like it a lot better. And we have a little bit of red here, which is interesting. It's almost like bisecting the head. So I think I'm just going to go ahead and add this. And I'm going to need to use Mod Podge. And not a big deal. It's not that I absolutely do not hate wet adhesives. I absolutely don't. I just work with the packing tape initially, and the Mod Podge becomes almost secondary. And I just have a little bit of water to rest the brushes in when I'm not using them, and then I dry them off in between. And I don't use a lot of the Mod Podge, but I do have it as part of my toolkit, so it is important. Okay, I think I like the way this is coming out. I like it a lot better. Interesting what a little change in color will do to a person. So I think I'm ready to do the big reveal, do the big cutout, and put this piece into the fridge.